Hello, everybody. I am Mickey. I am not your mama's minister, and today we are going to talk about one of my favorite subjects. Yeah, and that is body modification. So, I'm gonna kind of steer away from the topic of cosmetic surgery or anything like that. I know that it can be done in a ritual sense, but because I am a spiritual advisor, I'm going to kind of stick with the more commonly accepted and understood practice of tattooing, scarification, even implants. And so we'll go ahead and start with implants. So you might be thinking, what the fuck kind of implants, Mickey, are used in ritual or spirituality or religious connotation or context? And so I love that question because one of my favorites, of course, one of my favorite deities slash spirits is Santissima Muerte. And there are many of her worshippers or practitioners that work with her regularly that will have a medallion of her implanted into their skin. And it's even said in some of the legends that that being implanted under your skin is going to protect you from a violent death, and so, or unnatural death. And so there are a lot of practitioners that actually still do that for spiritual purposes and a connection to La Muerte. And that's where that's one of the implants that works in a religious or spiritual context. Then we look at move up to the next body modification that I was talking about, and that's of course scarification. So scarification has been done for ages, and for many different reasons, for cultural reasons, for spiritual reasons, to acknowledge your place or your position in your community or even within the world. And so scarification can be used for ritual purposes as well. And of course, it can be done even more ritually if the person doing the scarification, which in all of these cases, I really, really encourage you to go to someone who is licensed and skilled in that art. Um, I think it's very important that you aren't getting your scarification done in a back alley somewhere. And so we want to make sure that you keep safe and you don't get infected or anything like that. That would just be awful. And the gods don't want that either. And so um, when you are tracking down somebody to do the scarification for you, or let's say you know somebody that can do it for you, then it can be done ritually with a ritual knife. There are so many, collecting the blood that occurs, and so there are so many different ways to work that kind of spiritual uh, moment into something that you're going to get that is going to almost like decorate your body. So it is going to decorate your body. And so there's that. And then, oh, speaking of scarification, one of the things that I have recently run into with some people that I know is the idea that even though there are many, many people out there who have warrior spirits, they aren't necessarily in a position to be a warrior, like boom, 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 warrior. And so they will, and of course, warriors very often end up with scars. It just happens, regardless of whether you are a professional warrior or just somebody fighting on the streets or in a bar or whatever. And so that warrior personality has a tendency to have maybe more scars than the healer personality type. And so, and that's a generalization. Don't get me wrong. I know that many of you healers also have scars. And so, um, I know that with this group of people, they are having scars done and scarification done to connect them to that warrior spirit, connect them to the warrior deities. And I know that some of you would say, well, that's kind of falsifying it. They're not getting their scars through battle. And I'm going to have to disagree on that, because I cannot judge somebody else based on the choices that they make in order to connect to their spiritual path and their deities and their spirits and their ancestors. And so, just like somebody else can't judge me or shouldn't judge me, and so based on how I connect. And so, for them to do this, it's painful. And so, it is their way of saying, even though I don't have a warrior lifestyle, I still want to connect with the warriors of my history, of my bloodline, of my deities, my spirits, my guides, and so forth. And so there are all sorts of ways that you can do that. And then let's come to tattoos, which obviously I am a huge fan of tattoos. And the nice thing about tattoos is they tell a story, or they're supposed to tell a story. And so it's not just decoration for many people. It is a story of each chapter of their life that they've been through, and what a glorious way to display that story, that life story. And I happen to love tattoos. All of my tattoos are spiritual oriented, and each of them means something very specific to me. And there are people who will ask me about it. Oh, what does this one mean? Or what does this one mean? When I used to volunteer at the prisons, my guys always said, "Oh, you got a tower done on your arm." I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually a lighthouse. And I told them, I love you guys, but there's no reason for me to get a prison tower tattooed on my body. And so, speaking about tattoos, there are tattoos that you can get done on your foot or on your ankle in order to protect you from foot track magic. So if you're in a region where practitioners are regularly doing foot track magic, that you can get tattoos on your feet or on your ankles in order to protect yourself from those types of curses or problematic magic. And then you can get tattoos of sigils. There are people who believe that there are geometric tattoos are a passport to the afterlife or to the underworld. And so it definitely depends on where you're coming from, where your spiritual path is. And that's not to say that you have to get a tattoo. I love that meme that goes around about once a year of, tattooed people don't give a shit if other people are tattooed or not. And so it isn't one of those things that people with tattoos are sitting there going, "Oh my God, he doesn't have a tattoo. What a pussy." That's not happening. And so it's when you are thinking about getting a tattoo having to do with your spiritual path or having to do with your spirituality or any type of soul related arena, what you can do is look into and look deeply. Don't just take the first topic on Google or the first book out of the library, the first suggestion from your tattoo artist. I'm very fortunate. My tattoo artist happens to be a friend of mine, and he knows the things that I would and would not end up liking later on in life, and so he will refuse to do work on me. And so it's one of those things where you want to put some effort and understand why you're getting it. Why are you getting this specific spiritual tattoo? Buddhists and I think it's Hinduism, there are many practitioners of those religious paths or spiritual paths that will get tattoos of mandalas or any type of protective or empowering type of symbols or sigils. And so that's one way to go. People have gotten Our Lady of Guadalupe, people have gotten deities tattooed on them. I've seen the Green Man done recently. There are so many different things that you can do related to your spirituality and decorating your body or modifying your body. And um, if you feel like it's a sin, if you come from a religious background like I do, where it was taught that it's a sin to modify your body, or specifically to modify your body with scarification or tattoos, then don't do it. If it's going to make you uncomfortable or unhappy to look at it every single time you see it, then why in the world would you have it done? That's not going to be spiritually enlightening and uplifting and conducive to that connection between yourself and the divine, and yourself and the rest of humanity and the rest of life. And so it's in body modification having to do with spirituality. Make sure that you understand why you're having it done, and make sure that it is something that you're going to be pleased with, that you are going to sit there and feel that connection, understand that story that's being told, that legend, that hagiography, that mythology that is yours. And so I think that's it. I specifically wanted to kind of answer that question, and having to do with, uh, what can you do to increase your spiritual gifts, increase your personal power, increase your spiritual connection to the divine and to the spirit world, to your ancestors. I know somebody who has the same tattoo that her grandfather had. And so there are so many different ways you can work around that. And it's fucking awesome because, of course, yes, your body is absolutely a temple, and temples get decorated. I mean, there are very few churches, very few religions that I know of that make sure that they keep a very modest temple, modest church. And for those out there that practice those religions, definitely you might want to reconsider having to do with tattoos or body modification. But for the rest of us, it is definitely a way that you can have a deeper connection or a deeper understanding of and another thing is that it is a sacrifice, because it is painful and it is bloodletting. There is blood coming from your skin. And so in any of those cases, you need to remember the power behind that you are spilling blood for this sigil and this symbol. And yeah, have fun with it, enjoy it. The divine and spirit worlds definitely love to see our what's it called, our tokens of devotion to them. And so I think that's it for today, and I love you. Many blessings, and I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment.